Yo, what up, guys? So we're kind of in that time of the NFL season where it's really not a lot to talk about right now. I'm kind of at the point where I kind of trying to make like one video a week talking about something that I really kind of want to talk about and just something that's interesting. So with this video today, I'm gonna kind of go over really the top 5 games I'm looking forward to in 2025. If any of you guys have any video suggestions on stuff that you guys may be interested in like hearing about or talking about, I'm definitely down for it. I just don't want to pump out content for the sake of pumping out content. I want to come out with some stuff that's actually interesting and something that interests you and also interests me, right? Because my passion for the Jaguars is kind of what drives this channel in a way. And the moment I start having a boring time with this channel is probably when I'm going to stop making videos, right? But I don't foresee that coming. I love when the season is actually here. The favorite thing about this channel is actually doing reaction videos during the actual Jaguar games. That to me is just so much fun. And it's also the worst thing when we suck, right? It's the most fun thing to do on the channel, but also the least fun thing to do when we're just not a very good team. But 2025, new year. We got new blood in here. We have a new regime. We have a new ecosystem. We're raising ceilings. We're raising floors. We're by being nothing more than who we are as fans, right? That's kind of where we are. So with that said, I want to go over really the top 5 games that I'm kind of most excited about and the kind of things that I'm anticipating the most. So at number 5, I have the Jaguars at home against the Indianapolis Colts. This game is in week 14. And, the Jaguars don't play Indianapolis until really late in the season. So the first time they play them is week 14. And then the next time the Jaguars play them is week 17. So, yeah, really playing Indianapolis at the very end of the season. And, the main reason why I put this on here is that it's always a must circle game for me because the Jaguars have a lot of bad streaks, right? Even on the Jaguars schedule, like they haven't beat the 49ers in forever, the Rams in forever, the Chiefs in forever. But one thing that the Jaguars have going for them is that the Jaguars have not lost to the Colts at home since 2014, over 10 years ago for this franchise that's 31 years old. So it's something that I want to keep going, right? I want to beat the Indianapolis Colts at home, and it's crazy just the quarterbacks that have survived this streak. The Jaguars since then, the entire Blake Bortles era. If you guys remember that, Chad Henne actually started for the Jaguars the last time that the Jaguars lost to the Indianapolis Colts at home. But then Blake Bortles actually came into that game and kind of cleanup duty, but couldn't get the job done. But yeah, the Blake Bortles era kind of started then, and Blake Bortles never lost to the Indianapolis Colts at home. So that's something that's pretty cool. So Bortles, Kessler, Minshew, Trevor Lawrence, all these guys are undefeated against the Indianapolis Colts at home. Also, the big question is who's the Colts quarterback going to be? Now, I know myself, like I was a little bit, I guess, not optimistic, but I was a little bit skeptical is the word I'm looking for. Skeptical about really Anthony Richardson in the NFL, but even I could not have predicted that his NFL tenure could go this bad. And I never assume somebody is going to be as immature as he is. And he wasn't ready for the spotlight. And even in his second year, where I always come back to the fact that he subbed himself out of a game. And I'm not an overreaction guy, but that is a big moment. He took himself out of a game where, he had a big run and they were in the red zone and he decided that, hey, I want to take a play off. The great elite quarterbacks don't do that, right? You look at Patrick Mahomes, we've seen plenty of him in mic'd up moments and, him getting his ankle injury. He doesn't want to miss a single snap, right? He doesn't want to miss any time. The great quarterbacks want to be out there for every single play. And yeah, that's questionable to me. So will Daniel Jones be the full-time starter by then? If so, then Anthony Richardson's NFL career, or at least Colts career, is definitely over. And then when you actually look back on it, the Jaguars only played Anthony Richardson once in his tenure. So yeah, with this one, I'm really curious about the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think that they're going to be that good. I think they're going to be a 6-11, 7-10 football team, and then they're going to blow it all up, right? In 2026, They got the new ownership group with, Jim Irsay, RIP, passing away about a month or two ago. You'll have new quarterback, new GM, new head coach, just a lot. And you got to get a feeling that when a new owner kind of comes in place, they want to put their own stamp on the team. And I think it's about time that they kind of have a little bit of a restart. So, yeah, Indianapolis Colts are number 5 for the sole reason of me wanting to keep that streak alive. Now, my number 4 most intriguing game is against the Carolina Panthers at home in Week 1. And, yeah, this one is swayed a lot by it's the home opener, the season opener. There's so much anticipation that goes into that game. Of course, the Jaguars and Carolina Panthers went into the NFL together in 1995 as expansion teams. The Jaguars are currently 2.5-point favorites. And look, the Jaguars should be a better team than the Panthers. I think on paper, if you were to take really just a bunch of non-Jaguar fans and non-Panther fans that are at least informed about the NFL, I would say that most of them, probably at least 70% of them, would say that the Jaguars are going to win that game, or at least the Jaguars are the better team. And the Panthers, they should be a lot better. They've gone through kind of a rough transition of the last couple of years. I mean, 2023 was kind of crappy for them, where they were terrible. They earned the number 1 overall pick, but they didn't have it, right? Those rights were over the Chicago Bears for Bryce Young. But last year, Bryce Young was benched, but he later came back and actually showed some promise. And, they're a team that invested a lot in their offensive line, so the offensive line should be a lot better. They're a team that should be better in 2025, but I would still say Week 1, the Jaguars are the better team. And a big reason why I also have this game is very intriguing, because this is a game that the Jaguars must win. And it's a must win from the standpoint of, if you look at the Jaguars schedule after this, it's extremely rough. I mean, at Cincinnati, at home against Houston, at San Francisco, and at home Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Jaguars, for that reason, like the first half of their season is really rough. I would be happy if the Jaguars ended the first half of the season at 4-4. Maybe even 3-5, I would accept, just because it does get easier in the last half of the season. But I think the Jaguars absolutely need to win this game Week 1, because it does not get any easier as the season goes on. So Carolina Week 4, and they're also, you also tie in that, at least from a fantasy football perspective, a lot of people are going to be looking at Travis Hunter versus Ted McMillan, right? The first 2 receivers drafted in the 2025 NFL draft. They'll be paying attention to, who gets the most receiving yards. Also, will Travis Hunter actually be defending Ted McMillan in that game, or will it be Tyson Campbell? I don't know. It's a lot of cool stuff, but I think that's also a storyline, because, fantasy football, lots of overreaction Week 1. If one player gets 8 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown, and the other one gets 2 receptions for 12 yards, fantasy football people are going to be talking about it a lot. So, yeah, that to me is the number 4 most intriguing game of the season. And then next, number 3, at home against the Houston Texans. This game is Week 3. So the Texans, back-to-back AFC South champions. The Jaguars' first opportunity to play an AFC South team. And they're really the only team in the AFC South I'm actually threatened by. Like I said, I don't think the Colts are going to be very good. I think they're a 6-11 football team. And the Titans, I still think, are a year away from contending. And the Jaguars were god-awful last year and somehow swept them. And the AFC South kind of runs through Houston. Last time the Jaguars played Houston, at home was the Azeez Al-Shaair game, where, they got to want to get revenge against that. And also, little known fact, the Jaguars have not beat the Houston Texans at home since 2017. So they had to flip that around. Now, Trevor Lawrence, 1-3 career against CJ Stroud. I would probably say 1-2. I mean, Trevor Lawrence got knocked out in the first half of the last game against the Texans when it was just a 1-possession game. I think the Jaguars were only down like 3. Maximum of 6 points. So it was very much an opportunity for the Jaguars to be able to win that one. But yeah, so you got to try to even up that record. And also, the Jaguars only have 1 AFC South game in the first 9 weeks of the season. So this is really the Jaguars' only opportunity in the first half of the season to really make any bit of noise against an AFC South rival. So needs to come into this one. 4 out of the last 6 games are against the AFC South teams. So Got to be Houston for a lot of reasons. I mean, one, the first half of the schedule is extremely hard. Two, it's an AFC South rival. Like three, haven't beat them since 2017. I mean, this is a game the Jaguars really need to get, and I think that if they can win that one, say the first they beat the Carolina Panthers, lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, and then beat the Texans week 3. You're 2-1. I like that position a lot. I will take that right now. So, yeah, the Houston Texans at home is my third most intriguing game. And the number 2 has to be the Kansas City Chiefs, Monday Night Football, Week 5. Now, I kind of had to put this one on an intriguing game just because it's the Jaguars' only primetime game. And also, it's very early on. And also the Jaguars, 8 straight losses against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's tied for the longest losing streak one franchise has against another franchise in the NFL. There's like 5 teams, 5 matchups that are like tied with that. But yeah, the Jaguars are up there. The Chiefs kind of own us, right? The Jaguars just can't get past the Chiefs. And the thing that's annoying about the Chiefs is that it's not like the Chiefs even play that good against us, right? The Chiefs, I feel like, always play bad against the Jaguars. It's the Jaguars never bring their A game when it's time to play the Chiefs. The Jaguars are always hanging around in the game but make so many mistakes, and they can just never get over the Chiefs, right? It's almost like the logo or, Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes, something like scares the Jaguars, and they're not on their A game, and they shoot themselves in the foot like all the time. And that's something that can't be said for a team like the 49ers, for example. The Jaguars always just, the 49ers have their A game, the Jaguars have their F game, and every time the Jaguars play the 49ers, they just get whooped. It's not the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jaguars and Chiefs never bring their A game, but the Chiefs always just beat the Jaguars. So that's something that I'm scared about the game. I'm after our most recent prime time success, it hasn't been good, really just dating back since the Bengals on Monday Night Football, right? The Jaguars in 2023 played the Bengals on Monday Night Football. Trevor Lawrence was cooking, ankle injury. Then since that game, the Jaguars have won 5 games, right? The next week, the Jaguars played against the Ravens on Sunday Night Football, got destroyed. I was at that game. Then the next time, the Jaguars had like one primetime game in 2024, and it was against the Buffalo Bills. What was that? The worst loss? No, actually, the Detroit. I think at the time it was like the worst loss in Jaguars history. But then later on, the Jaguars played Detroit and overcame that, right? Detroit was the biggest loss in Jaguars franchise history. So, yeah, I'm scared about the Chiefs. I'm scared about primetime football. If we're going to get our ass whooped, let's do it at 1 o'clock, right? But whatever. Jaguars, Chiefs, always a hard one. Jaguars versus primetime, always a hard one. But new regime, let's hope that we can change some things there. And then number 1, the most intriguing game of the Jaguars season for me is going to be the Los Angeles Rams in London, Week 7. Now, this one's a revenge game. The Jaguars, really I'll go back. It's a revenge game because James Gladstone obviously comes from the Rams tree. He's the only NFL team he's actually ever worked for is the Los Angeles Rams. He's worked his way up in the program since Les Snead actually discovered him when he was the offensive coordinator of his son's high school football team. He's brought over a lot of stuff from the Rams when it comes to making bold moves in the NFL draft. He did it the first year as GM. We're trading up for Travis Hunter. Also, the no top 30 visits, and just other things that I imagine he's going to bring to the Jaguars slowly but surely. Usually, the Rams don't go to the NFL Combine. The Jaguars did it this year, but James Gladstone was on the job for 2 days, right? But after the NFL draft, a bunch of guys were let go, and he's hiring his own guys. So the crew will pretty much be his entire crew in 2026. Then it will be really interesting to see how similar the Jaguars approach the NFL draft and free agency as the Rams, when James Gladstone truly does have all his hands all over it. And also, Liam Cohen, while he was hired over from the Buccaneers, Liam Cohen kind of claims that he is from the Sean McVay tree. Offense is very similar. Obviously, he doesn't learn a lot of offense from Todd Bowles, but that was his offense over there. It was completely Liam Cohen's offense that he kind of inherited in a way from Danny Canales, but that matchup. Also, going back to the Panthers game, Danny Canales versus Liam Cohen, two former Buccaneer offensive coordinators fighting off against each other. But yeah, revenge game in that way. Also, revenge games under the Doug Peterson era were not good, right? Doug Peterson was 0-2 against the Philadelphia Eagles, 0-3 against Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of his former disciple. Doug Peterson was, worked under Andy Reid. He's from the Andy Reid tree, and yeah, it could not beat Andy Reid over there for him. And you could also say that he was 0-1 against Carson Wentz. First game of 2022, he played his former quarterback and lost against Carson Wentz. So revenge games, not good for the Doug Peterson era. Let's hope that changes around with Liam Cohen and James Gladstone when it comes to just revenge games here. Although there's not that many revenge games really for them. I mean, all James Gladstone has is the Rams. Liam Cohen is just the Rams and Buccaneers. So, yeah, who knows? So, also, Jaguars have kind of a bad history against the Rams, too. 1-5 all-time versus the Rams. Only win against the Rams came in 2009. So, that's another thing. I also think that the timing of this is going to be interesting. It's week 7. So, after the big gauntlet, can they come out of that with a decent record by here? So, this is right before the bye week. So, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if we're 3-4 after this game. 3-4. Then we can start playing kind of the softer side of the schedule. I'm hoping 4-3. I would accept 3-4. I don't want 2-5, right? 2-5 does not put yourself in a very good position. But yeah, timing of this, it's in London, so it's a 9:30 a.m. game. Me personally, I've loved the 9:30 a.m. games. I'm always up early, and then also gives you an opportunity to get the Jaguars game out of the way. Then you can kind of watch the 1 o'clock games on Red Zone, the 4:30 games, and I'm always up at 9:30, so might as well just play some football at 9:30. So yeah, these are kind of the 5 most intriguing games for me. Let me know if you guys are kind of on the same page as me. And look, we're about done with June, and then July, football kind of starts back up, right? And I'll leave you guys with this. When does football season begin? Is it training camp? Is it preseason? Is it the first week of college football season? Is it NFL week 1? For me, football season starts week 1. For me, I'll say it starts when the Jaguars kick the ball off against the Carolina Panthers. That, for me, is the start of football season. Let me know what it is for you. With all that said, appreciate you guys for watching the video. Go Jags.